I don't want no beef, but that's delusion.
PFO will set this up.
Uh-oh. A MMA double tag team match.
10 million forever.
Jake Paul and Logan Paul just leaked the official details of their fight with Tate brothers. And these YouTube stars who have made a name for themselves trolling their way into boxing rings are now seriously talking about stepping into the cage with the Tate brothers. Let that sink in for a second.
So is it
how does
tag team?
Yeah, how does that work?
If it goes to MMA, the Paul brothers win.
They have 2-on-2 MMA,
Europe,
but I think it's
Eastern
tag
Europe.
team, I think.
The same guys who made headlines by calling out every celebrity in the book now think they can take on two experienced fighters, one a former world kickboxing champion and the other a highly skilled MMA fighter. But hey, when you're dealing with the Paul brothers, anything is possible, right? They're no strangers to hyping up fights with grandiose promises. But this time, they've really taken it up a notch. So, you have to wonder, is this just another marketing stunt? Or are the Pauls about to get more than they bargained for?
These guys are about it. They said they offer them each $10 million. $10 million to Jake, Andrew, Tristan, and Logan Paul.
Here we're talking about Jake Paul and Logan Paul dangling a $40 million carrot for a fight against Andrew and Tristan Tate. Brilliant. Because what screams legitimacy more than two internet trolls and two self-proclaimed kickboxing icons hashing it out in a ring for cash. The Professional Fighters League, PFL, where Jake Paul conveniently holds a stake, reportedly put up this jaw-dropping offer, $10 million per fighter. Seems legit, right? Totally not a marketing ploy.
Shatters every single record for combat sports, and honestly, maybe any sports in the United States as far as streaming is concerned on these platforms.
But let's think this through. Jake Paul, a man whose boxing opponents include a retired basketball player, a wrestler who's allergic to striking, and the occasional YouTube star, is now gunning for Andrew Tate, a former four-time world kickboxing champion.
He's fighting old guys.
Yes.
He's fighting, all he fights are old guys and whatever. But listen, say what you want, he wins. And he makes money, so.
Did Jake forget the difference between an actual fighter and someone who gets paid to fall on command? Or does he think his newfound wrestling moves, courtesy of WWE tryouts, will save him when Andrew starts throwing liver kicks? Spoiler, they won't.
That's delusion. That's delusion. I'm
This
sorry.
ain't beef.
Look, Andrew, fighter, legitimate, badass motherfucker, strong mentality. I'm sorry, Tristan Tate is a weak link.
And Logan, the same guy who got outboxed by a retired Floyd Mayweather. He's now talking about Tristan Tate, who isn't exactly in prime fighting condition these days. Logan's calling him the weak link, as if that somehow levels the playing field. Hate to break it to you, Logan, but Tristan, on a bad day, would still wipe the floor with your WWE moves.
Diferență și de fizic între cei doi, mai înalt Andrew Tate față de intrare, doar 1,78 m.
Now let's pivot to the Tate brothers. The self-proclaimed top G Andrew Tate isn't shy about his chances. He's over here telling the world he'd mop the floor with the Paul brothers. Why wouldn't he? Andrew spent years fighting seasoned kickboxers, while Jake was perfecting his Disney Channel smile. Andrew's confidence is so sky-high that even NASA can't keep up. Boxing? Now, this is where things get spicy. Jake Paul is riding high on his record of carefully selected opponents, while Logan is still trying to figure out what boxing really means. Andrew, on the other hand, hasn't boxed professionally, but his striking is lethal. If Jake gets cocky and lets his guard down, Andrew might just remind him why striking isn't for amateurs. Jake and Logan love to point out how active they are. Jake's recent knockouts include Nate Robinson and Ben Askren. Logan, meanwhile, wrestles like a champ for WWE, where the results are scripted. They're active, sure, but against who?
There's a lot of things going on here that I think we need to talk about. What's next for Jake Paul, why it's important, and why I think it could be something...
Compare that to Andrew Tate, who fought legitimate killers in his kickboxing days. While the Paul brothers were learning how to market merch, Andrew was dodging head kicks and knocking out trained fighters. And Tristan? Even if he's less active, his foundation in combat sports still trumps Logan's antics. Let's be real. This isn't just about money. It's about legacy and ego. Jake and Logan are desperate to prove they're legitimate athletes, not just viral sensations. Meanwhile, the Tate brothers are fighting to protect their reputation as combat sports royalty. There's more at stake here than $40 million. This is about who gets to flex harder on Instagram for the rest of their lives.
Rock the head back of Jake Paul and force the first spray to cascade off the head.
Wrestling. The one thing the Paul brothers didn't borrow from a YouTube tutorial. Let's break down how Jake and Logan Paul's grappling game might be the only thing standing between them and a viral Tate brothers beatdown highlight reel. First up is Logan Paul's takedown defense of the century. Remember when Logan stuffed a takedown from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt Dylan Danis? If you missed it, don't worry. Logan brings it up every chance he gets. Dylan shot for a takedown like he was diving for loose change, and Logan defended it as if his life and Instagram sponsorships depended on it. Sure, Danis wasn't exactly in UFC shape, but Logan still treated him like a Black Friday sale item, grabbed, controlled, and put back where he belonged. Then there's Jake Paul, who quietly trained in wrestling long before his boxing circus began. He wrestled competitively in high school, a fact he loves to mention just enough to seem humble. While everyone was busy calling him a fake fighter, Jake was putting in hours on the mat. Say what you want about his boxing opponents. Yes, some of them were closer to retirement than competition, but his grappling experience isn't for show. His ability to control an opponent on the ground could seriously mess with the Tate's game plan. And we can't ignore Logan's WWE resume. Sure, WWE is scripted, but performing flying splashes off a 20-foot ladder takes athleticism most people only pretend to have on American Ninja Warrior.
I'm a kickboxer. You're 2-0 in boxing. I'm 0-0 in boxing. I've never even fought boxing. I'm a retired old man.
There's the age factor that we shouldn't ignore. Andrew and Tristan are in their mid to late 30s, a time when most fighters are thinking about coaching or retirement, not going 12 rounds with younger, more active opponents. Jake Paul is 27, Logan is 29, and they've been training like obsessed teenagers. In a sport where speed, endurance, and recovery are everything, the Tate's biggest battle might be against the clock. Andrew's kickboxing record is undeniably impressive. 87 wins, 23 by knockout. But here's the catch. MMA isn't kickboxing. In MMA, leg kicks and flashy head kicks only work when you can stop someone from taking you down. Andrew's tendency to lean back and counterpunch, a signature move that worked well against smaller kickboxers, might spell disaster against someone like Jake, who's roughly the same size and has a good wrestling base. Jake's strategy could be simple: absorb a few kicks, close the distance, and drag Andrew into the deep waters of grappling.
Who would kick the living fuck out of you. This is the hardest sport in the world, and people dedicate their lives to this.
And let's not ignore the potential for injuries and ring rust. The Tates have been busy building empires, giving motivational speeches, and dodging internet bans. How active have they really been in serious fight training? Even if they've stayed fit, there's a massive difference between training for Instagram stories and preparing for an MMA war. MMA legends have lost fights after long breaks, and the Tate's time out of the ring could be their Achilles heel. So while the Paul brothers might be meme-worthy personalities, they have the wrestling chops to force this fight into uncomfortable territory for the Tates. And while Andrew and Tristan exude alpha male confidence, even they can't outrun Father Time or a double-leg takedown. Let's talk about what each side brings to this potential slugfest. Spoiler alert, it's a combat sports buffet featuring everything from knockout punches to devastating kicks, and possibly some WWE-style theatrics. Starting with the human highlight reel himself, Andrew Tate. His kickboxing record is like something out of a martial arts video game. 87 wins, 23 knockouts. He's basically Mortal Kombat on two legs. His kicks hit like they're powered by Wi-Fi rage, and one liver shot from him could have you rethinking all your life decisions. If this fight allows kicks, the Paul brothers might as well bring a first aid kit, and possibly a stretcher.
Yeah, when it happens, it's gonna be a little bittersweet because I have love for him, but at the current moment, we're meant to go to war.
Then there's Jake Paul, a certified meme-turned-knockout artist. He knocked out actual former UFC stars like Tyron Woodley and Nate Diaz. His right hand has become a verified weapon, and unlike most YouTubers, he backs up his trash talk with literal knockouts. Logan Paul is the wild card. He's huge, athletic, and somehow went from that YouTuber guy to, is he actually a fighter? He's 6'2" with the wingspan of a small aircraft and the strength of someone who's been lifting influencer drama like it's part of his workout routine. His athleticism could be a nightmare for the Tates, if he can figure out what sport he's playing that day. And finally, Tristan Tate, the great mystery. He has fighting experience, but his skill set is still a bit like a lost season of a TV show, mentioned but rarely seen. Is he the dark horse of this fight, or just the unfortunate +1 to Andrew's combat sports party? Logan Paul already called him the weak link, but that might just be a ploy to get under his skin, or maybe he really did his homework. There's the media hype monster. Every tweet, interview, and spicy comment is like throwing gasoline on a fire. With the internet watching, these four could accidentally create the biggest fight event of the decade, fueled by controversy, clout chasing, and more promo videos than the Super Bowl. Here's where things get spicy. The rules. Depending on the fighting style, this could be a one-sided massacre, or a chess match with punches.
E destul de ușor când vii ca străin în România, mai ales dacă te duci la mare, chiar și în București, atunci când erau deschise toate lucrurile, să te îndrăgostești.
Let's keep it real. Team Tate wins if the fight stays upright. Andrew and Tristan need to unleash their kickboxing arsenal and avoid the ground at all costs. Leg kicks, head kicks, body shots, just kick everything that moves. Team Paul wins if they use their grappling to drag the fight into MMA territory. Ground and pound, wrestling control, and submissions could win them the day. No matter what, this fight is the ultimate combat sports fantasy, or a marketing masterstroke. And honestly, we're here for every bit of chaos they're serving.